Are we waiting for, oh, is Ryan there? Oh.
No, Ryan's not here. I will text him. And then I'm waiting for Commissioner Reinhardt. I don't see Commissioner Reinhardt online yet. Oh, there she is. She's in the waiting room.
So I'm running fast enough, I just realized I don't have a tie or a jacket on today. So I guess this is what we're doing.
They didn't tell us it was.
Hi everybody, today's casual board meeting day. I just walked in and was like, oh boy.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
All right. Welcome back, Raphael. Hope you're feeling well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Welcome
I
back.
can't
We've
see
been
you.
thinking about you. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Is everyone ready? Are we all?
We're already here, Madam Chair. You gavel us in when you tell me when you want us to gavel in.
Okay. It looks like everyone is here on the call as well, on the Zoom meeting, and looks like everyone's in the chamber. So I will call the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners meeting for September 21st to get to order. And I'm going to first read our notice of why we are meeting in a hybrid fashion. And so I will do that now. Pursuant to Minnesota statutes, Section 13D, the chair of the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners has determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the prevalence of the Delta variant. Commissioners will participate by telephone or other electronic means. In addition, it may not be feasible for commissioners, staff, or members of the public to be present at the regular meeting location due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the prevalence of the Delta variant. The meeting broadcast will be available online and linked via ramseycounty.us/board meetings. Members of the public and the media will be able to watch the public meeting live online. So thank you. So we have several commissioners in the chamber and several of us on the Zoom call. So with that, I will ask the clerk to take the roll.
Fredum.
Present.
Manas Castillo.
Here.
McDonough.
Here.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye, or here.
Carter. McGuire.
Here.
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think it's important to note that there are only 2 commissioners in the chambers.
Thank you,
which is
Madam.
part of the.
It's part of the open meeting. Yes, thank you, Commissioner
Yes.
Reinhardt. Thank you for noting that Commissioners Matas Castillo and Ortega are in the chambers, and the rest of us are online. So there's not a quorum in the chambers. Thank you. Thank you for noting that. So now we will stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I believe that Commissioner Fretham is doing the administrative items. If you would like to lead us in the pledge, or if the chamber wants to. I'm not sure how to do this with the hybrid.
Madam Chair, let's have Commissioner Fretham do it. That sounds great.
Okay.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Fretham, for that. And I want to note also at the beginning that Commissioner Carter regrets that she's unable to be with us today, and supports the agenda that we're going to be looking at, and is sorry that she's unable to be here. So with that, I will move on to the other parts of the agenda. Our first item is the approval of the agenda for today, September 21st. Is there a motion? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? They're hearing no discussion. All those, will the clerk please take the roll?
Fretham.
Aye.
Manas Castillo.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Carter, and McGuire.
Aye. Thank you. And with that, we will go on to the minutes from our last meeting of September 7th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move
So
approval.
moved. Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Fretham,
Aye.
Manis Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Carter, and McGuire.
Aye. Thank you. Minutes have been approved. Thank you so much. So now we're moving on to the proclamation of the day, which is very exciting. It is our proclamation of the 2021 Farm Family of Ramsey County. And I'm fortunate to serve on the Extension Committee as well as Commissioner Reinhardt and Commissioner Fretham. And we're pleased that Commissioner Reinhardt will be reading the proclamation, and we have several we have Ben Kucera from the Extension Committee with us, and Tammy McCullough, who's our University Extension Director. And I'm not sure if there's anyone else on the call from
Yes.
Extension. Okay, but
Oh, not from Extension.
not from Extension.
Go ahead.
So thank you. Thank you for being here, Mr. Kucera and Director McCullough. And so Commissioner Reinhardt, please read the proclamation.
Yes, and I thank you, Madam Chair, and it is one of the most fun things that we do, I think, for the Extension Committee is the Farm Family of the Year, which we have done in Ramsey County for quite some time now, because people don't generally think of Ramsey County as a farm mecca, and that is true, but we have some very creative and innovative farming practices that take place here in Ramsey County, and we have had no problem finding multiple candidates for Farm Family of the Year, and this year was no exception to that. I think that Nick Robinson, are you on? Okay, I see it lighting up there.
Yeah, I didn't, while you all were doing your business, I didn't want to pop in. So, hi, everybody.
Okay. Hi. Well, I am pleased to be able to present this proclamation to R&R Cultivation. The owner is Nick Robinson, and I'm really glad that he has joined us here today. So, and now my screen does its thing. Okay, there we go. I got to be able to see people. All right, the proclamation. The proclamation is, whereas R&R Cultivation is a local grower that specializes in organic gourmet mushrooms located in Roseville, Minnesota, and whereas R&R Cultivation owner and Twin Cities native Nick Robinson was drawn into the world of sustainable living and urban farming through his friend Lance Ram, and the two began their first grow in 2018. Really just going gangbusters at this point. And that wasn't in the proclamation. And whereas Robinson and Ram started to sell at local farmers markets with tremendous success beginning in 2019, and soon were ready to increase their mushroom production 8-fold and expand into a warehouse operation. And whereas in 2 short years, the friends took R&R Cultivation from a small basement operation to a fully scaled urban farm. And whereas R&R Cultivation co-founders Nick Robinson and Lance Ram believe that organic, sustainably produced, wholesome, fresh, nutritious mushrooms cultivated with love, with the support of family and friends, and proudly sold through local co-ops, farmers markets, and Twin Cities grocers should be accessible to everyone. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners declares September 21st as R&R Cultivation Day in Ramsey County, and be it further proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners, along with the Ramsey County Extension Committee, congratulates R&R Cultivation in its selection as the University of Minnesota Extension's 2021 Farm Family of the Year for Ramsey County, and it is signed by all commissioners and the county manager, Ryan O'Connor. It is truly an amazing story, and I think that the love and caring that you and Lance have put into this. Is Lance on the call too, or is it just Nick?
No, just me. He's in back, getting blocks inside of a grow room. So
Okay.
I was able to take time away and.
All right. Well,
Here for us.
hopefully he can watch this then, because he can
Yeah.
see it afterwards. But I mean, we are really thrilled with the work that you are doing, and the love and caring really shows through in it. The environment, everything is part of what you do. And yes, in 2 short years, it has been pretty amazing. So congratulations on behalf of Ramsey
Thank you.
County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I grew up in New Brighton, so I'm very familiar with this whole area here. So we're proud to be an urban farm able to grow year round. It's just a different model of farming, which is totally true. Like you were saying, Ramsey isn't known to be a farm mecca, but you know, urban growing and being able to grow more vertically instead of horizontally is pretty fun. It's been a crazy journey. So thank you. We appreciate the award and the acknowledgement. So.
Well, thank you so much. I think of it as an urban farm mecca. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's so fun being on the Extension Committee, where we get to learn about all the opportunities we have to nominate farm families. And it's surprising how many ideas people have for urban farming and what they're doing with it. So Nick, just thank you so much for being here. And Director McCullough, thank you so much for being here. And Ben Kuchera, with our extension member. Would you like to say anything, Director McCullough, as well, or Member Kuchera? Would you like to say anything, Jan? Okay, you have to unmute, Director McCullough. There.
Sure. This is Ben Kuchera. I'm
sorry.
from Shoreview, and I'm. Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you. Thanks.
Again, I would just like to congratulate Nick Robinson and their families and friends, all the people that were involved on the selection of the R&R cultivation as the University of Minnesota Extension's 2021 Farm Family of Ramsey County. Since the first Ramsey County Farm Family was recognized 40 years ago, I'll echo Commissioner Reinhardt's sentiment that the Extension Committee and the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners has had the privilege of recognizing those local growers, community gardens, and agricultural businesses that don't kind of fit into what we typically think about as a farm family. But in our largely urban county, we find some really good ones, and the stories of how these groups provide local, healthy, and sustainable food options to our community kind of gets better and better each year. And we've heard a lot already of how in these 2 short years, our cultivation has gone from that small basement operation into a fully skilled urban farm. And I just want to point out that, you know, they're showing through that innovation and their products that they're leading the change in removing urban food deserts and making wholesome, fresh food accessible to everyone.
Thank you so much for those words. And Director McCullough, did you want to say anything as well?
I would just echo the sentiments that Ben shared from the Extension Committee, and thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners, for this opportunity to bring R&R cultivation in front of the board and recognize their great leadership and their connection to the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations again to Nick Robinson and R&R Cultivation. It's very exciting and fun that it's in Roseville as well. So,
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Reinhardt.
Chair,
yes.
I would like to ask Commissioner Fretham to say a few words as well, because this is something that, being the newest on the county board, and I'm an alternate now to the Extension Committee, but I think this may be the second Farm Family of the Year that you have celebrated, Commissioner Fretham, but I just thought it would be important for you to also weigh in on this, because you're finding out just how much is going on in Ramsey County with the innovativeness in farming.
Absolutely. It's been such a joy to join the Ramsey County Extension Board and to start to dig into what's going on and how our residents are being really innovative and bringing agriculture to our community. So grateful for for Nick Robinson and his team at R&R, and for the other families that we looked at for this award, and looking forward to continuing to learn more over the next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Fretham. And is there anyone else who would like to comment? And I'm not, if someone in the chamber would like to comment, please let me know, because I'm not sure if I can see your hand. So,
Madam Chair, we have no hands in the chamber other than wanting to give the farm family a hand on the way out.
Thank you so much. And we just appreciate your work and look forward to continuing to find more farm families. So, okay, with that, thank you very much, Nick Robinson, Tammy McCullough, and Ben Kuchera. So with that, we'll move on to our agenda. You can get back to your farming, Nick.
All right, thanks. Last thing I'll say is if you are all very close, and if anybody would like to come in for a farm tour to kind of see how mushrooms grow, if you're close by, we're just on Snelling and County C. So just open that invitation to you all if you want to come by and actually see how mushrooms grow. So, but thank you all again for the nomination, the award, and the recognition. It's an honor. So.
Thank you. I'm definitely going to take you up on that. So thank you.
Do
okay.
it.
Thank
all
you.
right, y'all. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. So such a fun event, recognizing that. So thank you again, Commissioner Reinhardt, and thank you, Commissioner Fretham, for serving on that extension committee. Okay, with that, we're moving on to our COVID update, and I'm going to turn to County Manager O'Connor to start us off.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm going to go directly to the public health team to get us rolling today.
Thank you. Is it Deputy County Manager Hadeen, or is it?
Madam Chair, we have
Director...
Incident Commander Laura Anderson ready to start presenting.
Okay, great. Okay.
Madam Chair, Board, County Manager, if I could get a little bit of assistance logging into this laptop, that would be useful. It appears to have logged me off.
We're working on that.
I can go ahead and proceed briefly, though. I did want to share with you some good news from the national level. We were looking at the CDC's data tracker, which is obviously the site that we've been using since, I believe, July 27th to make some recommendations around mitigation activity. This dashboard has gotten increasingly comprehensive over time. So we now have detail on vaccine rates, vaccine breakdown by race, ethnicity, as well as some forecasting information, which I think is really useful for us as a community here in Minnesota. What you will see when you take a look at the dashboard now, thank you so much, is that although Ramsey County, along with the rest of our community here in Minnesota, remains at a high level of transmission, we are certainly starting to see information that would indicate a lessening or a slowing of our case rate, which is a positive sign. So I wanted to bring that to your attention now. If we take a little bit of a deeper look at our countywide data, you will not yet see that same slowing. We have basically, plateaued in terms of our case rate. It's high, but it's stagnant. We are very grateful, as we've mentioned previously, that our residents are taking advantage of testing in our community. We see a high rate of individuals seeking testing. Our testing rate is somewhere between 5% and 6% each week, which is unfortunate, but good again to have access to testing resources in our community. Our main priority, as I've indicated in the past, of course, continues to be on vaccine, primarily getting folks vaccinated who don't have their first and second doses. Here in Ramsey County, we have about 24% of our population who has not yet received a first dose of COVID-19. So we continue to work very closely with our healthcare providers and our Trusted Messenger program to connect with these individuals and help them receive vaccine. Just last week, we led 10 vaccine clinics throughout the week and gave a little bit under 300 doses. We intend to continue that effort, obviously, throughout the fall months. You'll be hearing a little bit more from my colleagues around, again, new audiences for vaccine this fall. As far as next week is concerned, we expect to give about 350 doses throughout the coming week. With that, I will go ahead and hand the mic off to my colleague, Dr. Ogawa, for a little bit more information on what's coming down from the feds in terms of vaccine.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Incident Commander Anderson, and now Dr. Ogawa.
Morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. We try and get ready for our conversations with the board a little ahead of time, and it seems that we just learn information literally hours before we're going to come here. And so some of what I do is I synthesize and try and create, and especially what happened right before this meeting, essentially, is that Pfizer released new data on their 5 to 11 year old immunization as an option. And so I did want to speak to that because we've talked previously about the importance of getting everyone vaccinated who can be vaccinated, but that previously we didn't have an option to vaccinate 12 and under. And hopefully we will have a chance to vaccinate 5 to 12-year-olds coming soon. Essentially, all of the data has not been released to the public, but what I can gather is that the basic data that was given to the FDA is that there were over 2,200 participants, ages 5 to 11. They used a 10 microgram dose instead of a 30 microgram dose. It was chosen because of the less side effects, but adequate antibody and response. And there were no cases of myocarditis. One of the issues that we were concerned about with messenger RNA vaccines was that of mildly increased risk of myocarditis. All the cases were self-limiting, but still that concern. So that's all very good news and very reassuring, very helpful. And so the FDA and ACIP will be looking at the data, and there's more of it, I'm certain, to decide when 5 to 11-year-olds can be vaccinated. That's for Pfizer still right now. We're still waiting on seeing some of the data on Moderna, although we know that their trials are ongoing as well for that age group. Also, currently, phase 2 and 3 trials are happening for under 5 as well, but again, that data will be later in coming out. The other good news is that most sources point towards vaccine being available for 5 to 11-year-olds around Halloween. So we're hoping still for the fall. So that was exceptionally good news. We're still hopeful. We still have to wait for the meetings to continue. The other information that's we've been following is the cases linked to the state fair. It's a hard, it's not as easy as one would think, but thus far there's been definitely over 150 cases linked to the state fair. We talked about that. I talked about the R naught before, so each one of those cases may still include others who've been exposed and others who may become positive, so we'll be continuing to watch that data as well. Moderna is actually creating the first flu plus COVID vaccine. And this, I'm bringing this up because it highlights, again, the need this year for individuals to get vaccinated against flu in addition to COVID. Symptoms are very similar. Transmission of flu is similar to COVID, and so protecting ourselves against all of those infections is exceptionally important. I do not believe that the combination vaccine will be out in time for this season, and so making sure that people are getting their flu shots as soon as now is important. The other piece of information that came out is that It's perfectly fine and safe to get the flu and the COVID vaccine at the same time and or close to each other. In the early days of when we were doing COVID vaccines, we were a little concerned about delivering the vaccine at the same time, but all of the data continues to show that it's actually perfectly safe and fine to get the shots at the same time. I think those are the main things that I was going to mention. Besides Moderna's flu plus COVID vaccine, they're actually working on an HIV vaccine linked to the messenger RNA technology. As a public health person, as somebody who trained in the middle of the HIV outbreak, this is very exciting as well, because if we could begin to interrupt the transmission of HIV and help it to also leave, that would be great. So the rest, back to COVID, I'm going to turn it over to, we have a question?
Madam Chair, we have a...
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Oga and County Manager O'Connor. Yes, is there a question in the chamber? Because we have a question from
Commissioner Ortega has a hand up in addition to on the folks you have on screen.
Okay, great. Why don't we take Commissioner Ortega, then Commissioner Reinhardt, and then Commissioner McDonough.
Dr. Ogawa, some of what I encounter in the community is we had towards, at least in Ramsey County, towards 80 and 90% vaccination. You get more resistance regarding the FDA's, shortened process. And now that tends to be, I hear that more and more as the rationale for not taking. Can you speak a little more about it, just to educate folks?
Yeah, Commissioner Ortega, thank you for the question. It is hard to completely address that because the formation of the COVID vaccine has been so transparent, quite frankly, compared to previous vaccine development and distribution, as well as the fact that we are doing this in the middle of a pandemic, that we've had to use but my answer usually is that we are using the same science. We are using the same science, we're using the same requirements, we are expecting the same kind of data results that we've always expected from vaccines. The difference is that we have combined sometimes phases of the vaccine studies. Previously, we would do a phase 1, we would do a phase 2, then we would do a phase 3. What we've learned is that we can do phase 2 and 3 simultaneously somewhat. And it's helped to speed the process by which making sure that the safety and the efficacy are being looked at simultaneously. But the reality is the data is coming out quicker than it used to, but I still trust that the data is good data.
So when you combine phases 2 and 3, let's say, for that temporary or not temporary, but maybe expedited distribution, do they continue with the process?
Afterwards, absolutely. So everybody, I mean, the reality is even those of us who received the Pfizer or the Moderna or the Johnson & Johnson are still part of ongoing safety studies. Anyone who signed up for the VAERS reporting, we are all taking part in helping to make sure that the safety and efficacy can be followed for longer too. Yeah.
And then the other question is, with the mutation, what's the probabilities of another mutation now that we're heading into the cold, blah, blah, so forth?
Yeah, I'm certain that there are statisticians and viral modeling professionals who are much better than I am at this, but the risk of mutation continues to be there because whenever there is passing of the virus, whenever there is replication, just by nature, it exists. I mentioned a couple, or last time I can't remember, about mutations, variants of interest, variants of, and so the CDC and World Health Organization actually are continuing to watch for literally DNA changes that might predict issues. And so right now we still only have about 3 or 4 identified worldwide, but that can change in a heartbeat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. And now I'll call on Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I have 3 questions, 2 of which are around kids. One with kids is you talked about the uptick from the state fair, and that a couple of weeks ago you said it was going to be a double or triple whammy because of the state fair and schools opening. So I am wondering what you have found out as far as schools opening, because I know my grandson anyhow in school for a week and a half and he was exposed, and so went through the testing process. It's kind of interesting how quickly we adapt to, okay, this is what we need to do instead of panic. So I'm wondering about that. And the other thing for children, the 5 to 11-year-olds, is that, since it's Pfizer, is it going to be 2 doses that are the smaller doses, or is it just 1 dose for them? So that's for the kids part.
I always love to take questions backwards. So I'm going to take the second question first, mostly because that's how I remember them. And the second question was whether or not it's a single dose or a double dose or 2 doses. And actually for children, it's still 2 doses. So it's a 10 microgram dose and then 21 days later, a 10 microgram dose again. So it's similar to the way that it would work for those 12 and older. And then the second question is a little bit more difficult, and actually I don't have the numbers at hand. I know that we are seeing increasing cases within schools, and then each of those has a ripple effect as well of who was exposed, and under the age of 12, if people are not vaccinated, then there has to be a quarantine. So it's only, because schools also have started in rolling waves in the state, we don't have all of the state data, plus, or we have more of the state data. The Ramsey County, specifically the Ramsey County schools, didn't start until after, most of them didn't start until after the Labor Day, and so we'll be seeing those numbers, and we are seeing those numbers rising, but I don't have the specific numbers at this time.
Thank you. And then the other question is on the opposite end of the spectrum, since it was announced.
Actually, I was just prompted with some information that currently in Ramsey County, we have not had any reports specifically of any of our schools having an outbreak. And I will just make a quick plug that, as I knock on wood as well, or however those things are, that we took the lead in making sure that all of our children are masked. And I think that that's an exceptionally important step in preventing that transmission.
Yes, very much so. Thank you. And as I said, I mean, it was very quick. It was like, okay, you've been exposed. This is what we need to do. And, the getting the test and then being quarantined until they had the results of that test. And so it was, it was a little scary for the kids especially, but it was, the system that we had in place was a very good one. So on the opposite end, last Friday, I think it was, the announcement came out that if you're 65 plus, you can get the booster shot. So is that, how is that being rolled out here?
Yeah, so Commissioner McGuire, thanks. The recommendations will now go to the committee for a final decision. The recommendations were that individuals who are over the age of 65 receive a booster shot. The current recommendations were not that immune competent individuals younger than 65 receive a booster at this time. So the recommendations will go to the committee, ASIP. They will decide on the ultimate recommendation or the ultimate recommendations, and then we'll move forward on what those final recommendations will be. We, as Ramsey County, have been planning on being able to provide boosters ultimately. So our focus remains on vaccine, and we have continued to maintain our vaccine sites for first and second doses currently, because that's what's been approved and those are the recommendations. However, we recognize that we will be in spaces and with people to provide boosters as they go forward with the approval of that. So we're certainly as ready as one might be to be able to offer that.
And again, I think I asked this before, but the first and second and now the third dose are the same. There's not a difference between them. And this is Pfizer at this point.
Correct. They are the same doses. Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. And just because I want to follow up on this, because I know Commissioner McDonough has a question, but just on this line of questioning, so even though it's been recommended, do we wait for the committee to say that over 65 should get a booster? So we're not rolling that out yet. We're waiting for the CDC to say that over 65, just because the committee's recommended it, that doesn't mean that everyone should go out and get a booster yet.
Correct. Yes.
And
unless
Madam
they're,
Chair, what is
unless
the
they're
timing of that?
unless they're immunocompromised is what I think you said. But yeah, what is the timing on that, Dr. Ogawa?
Commissioner McGuire, I'm not actually 100% sure yet, because they're also reviewing the pediatric data at the same time. And so they may rule on one or the other, or they may rule on both. It's really hard to tell when they're going to decide. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm guessing we can talk to our doctors and they'll tell us if they think people should have that booster yet or not. I mean, yeah.
Commissioner McGuire, I think it's fine. One of the things about healthcare right now is that even they are a little bit uncertain as to when they'll be able to provide those booster shots, unless people fit clearly under the immune compromised setting. So this is one of those cases where I might say they might not have any more information than we do either.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, Commissioner McDonough.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Doctor, any update or news on the Mu variant that's been starting to get some attention?
Commissioner McDonough, actually, I have not seen any increased rate of Mu identified in the U.S. yet at this point. There is growing data coming out of the rest of the world, but we have not seen, we continue to see that Delta is the primary variant that we're seeing in the U.S. And so most of the data associated with what we're seeing is still related to the Delta variant. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ogawa. And just to follow up on that, my colleagues are asking very good questions for me to follow up on. You've said this before, but the more we can nip the COVID and the Delta in the bud, I mean, get rid of these, then there's less chance for another variant to occur. So that's why we need to get vaccinated, to get all of this under control, because then there's less chance for variants to come up. Can you just restate that again for all of us to hear?
Sure, Commissioner McGuire, yes. All of the things that we're doing to reduce transmission, so in this case, vaccine, masking, reducing groups to the best of our ability and being close to each other. Anything that we do right now to reduce transmission of the virus does reduce the risk of major variants and mutations occurring. Yeah, very important.
Thank you, and thank you for adding in the masking and the distancing and all of that. So I appreciate that. I have a question. When you mentioned the state fair, the cases were over 150. Was that just in Ramsey County then, or was that statewide? Because I think you said that we would be getting some numbers from the state.
Yeah, I believe that statewide currently. Again, I think also because the number of people who come to the state fair are not just Ramsey County residents. So.
Okay, thank you. And that's not conclusive. I mean, that's still to be determined, right? I mean, that's, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ogawa. Are there any other questions in the chambers?
Madam Chair. Oh, sorry, we still have Director Holly with more of the COVID update as well.
Yes, I know that. I just wondered
Okay.
if there were any more questions for Dr. Ogawa, but thank you, County Manager. Okay, we'll ask Director Holly then to come forward.
All right.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, County Manager. Dr. Ogawa can certainly stay up here with me. Yes. Especially if there are more questions. We welcome the questions. I'm glad that we started with questions. So maybe I can continue with more good news and follow up and definitely stand for questions, our whole entire team. So good morning again, community and board. So Minnesota, just to follow Dr. Ogawa's comments, Minnesota has administered a third dose of either Pfizer or Moderna vaccines to over 32,000 people since August 13th, when regulators authorized an additional shot for immunocompromised people. So this gets to the point that was made earlier. Per the recent news that the FDA is not approving a third dose of vaccines to the general public, of course, we will continue our efforts for first and second doses, as Dr. Ogawa has mentioned. Exciting news from the Minnesota Department of Health. If you didn't know, a new mobile app for Minnesotans to access immunization records was made available last week. And so Minnesotans can now easily access their immunization records through their smartphones or other mobile devices by using a mobile app called Docket. The other thing I just want to mention here is that anyone who wants or needs access to their immunization record that does not have a smartphone, because not everybody has a smartphone, or does not want to use the app can still request their immunization record from their healthcare provider or MDH. So I just want to mention that. For more information, visit the Find My Immunization Record website. So at the end of the last week, St. Paul Ramsey County Public Health, our vaccine initiative, reached over 1,500 residents with gift cards. And so we're continuing to move on that. We did take a brief pause while we assess the data for this program and implement a new, looking at new funding opportunities, but we hope to relaunch this on Monday. So more news to come on that. In addition, Governor Tim Walz announced the launch of a new program offering $100 on-site incentives for COVID-19 vaccines at community vaccination clinics across the state. Nearly 50 community connectors or coordinators at community clinics and federally qualified health centers will be participating in the program. So this is important because both the state and many counties are continuing their vaccine and incentive programs. This program is designed to give organizations flexibility to determine which incentives would most resonate with local communities they serve. And so I think that's a really important point this morning. Good news is Roy Wilkins is coming online as of Monday to provide vaccines. So you can get your COVID-19 test and you can also receive your vaccine at Roy Wilkins. So on to testing. We get a weekly report on testing numbers from Roy Wilkins Auditorium. This is useful information for our department to review. Obviously, individuals come from all over to access that site, but testing positivity at this location moved up to 7.25% in the first week of September. The first week in March, this same population or same location was at 4.68 positivity with twice as many tests provided. So we just see kind of that change in positivity with more people hopefully getting tested. And we're glad to see that. I just want to stress a few things. We're still recommending weekly testing for unvaccinated individuals as part of our ongoing mitigation strategy and per the CDC guidelines. So this just gets back to what Dr. Ogawa mentioned earlier, is mitigation is still really key here. So regular testing, universal mask wearing, and then of course, getting your vaccine or considering that at this time. Just a great reminder, I think Dr. Ogawa mentioned this, that all of our school districts in Ramsey County are mandating masks for students, employees, and visitors. One of the things that we've continued to come back to the board each week to give an update is that we're still working on updating our COVID-19 mitigation guidance for schools and families. We will be working with our partners to further define our role as public health, the role of schools, and the information that we think that families should know on an ongoing basis. We think information sharing is very important, and that our families, our caregivers, and staff at our schools have access to that ongoing up-to-date information. And this, of course, will continue to help reduce the spread of COVID related to just the overall pandemic. We want to continue to increase testing and, of course, vaccines when they come available for our 12 and under population. And especially as we get closer to seeing the FDA approval of Pfizer. Our goal is to continue to offer vaccine clinics at schools and community sites through the end of this year, and hopefully as we sustain our efforts. Quick update on the Mask for Everyone. We have received 205 inquiry forms for a total of 1,200 masks for our Mask for Everyone initiative. So that relaunch a couple weeks ago is helping. We want to continue to encourage community and staff to request masks, particularly for our 12 and under population, because we know that they can still not be vaccinated. Two things that are coming up. Public Health, of course, is working with research to outline next steps for our trusted messenger and community connector model, pending the approval of the research RBA today. So we're really happy about that. I want to give a plug for our star of the day, Dr. Lynn Ogawa. We're hosting a virtual community conversation this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. And so community, commissioners, staff, join us. You can ask Dr. Ogawa all of your COVID-19 questions while learning how to protect yourself, your family, and our community during the ongoing pandemic. To access the Zoom link, you can just go to the Ramsey County calendar. So I'll stand for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Director Holly. We really appreciate all this good information. So I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. Are there any? Commissioner Reinhardt has a question. I see she's getting her hand raised there, and then I'll see if there's any questions in the boardroom. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you. I could
see you were going for it. I'm like, yeah, that works.
Okay.
It works.
I have a question because, you know, one of the things that is being required sometimes at different locations is the proof of vaccination. And I think from what I've heard anyhow, it's going pretty well. If that's a requirement, people know that when they come to whatever the event is or meeting is. So I would appreciate it actually if you would repeat, what is the name of the app? How is it spelled?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then also, will we be able to, instead, because one of the concerns, of course, and we were told, you know, take a photo of your card so that you can show it, because that's the only proof that you have. And so taking the original of something and taking it with you, carrying it with you, seemed like it was a little risky. So will this app, will we be able to show that we have a vaccine rather than carrying around a card?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner Reinhardt, great question. So you can always access your immunization records. I think that's an important point that people should know via your healthcare provider and also MDH. So we, of course, starting at birth to death, we receive immunizations throughout our lifespan. So, but this app, that's actually the purpose of it, so that you can have real-time access to your vaccine card and then your vaccination information overall. So I think it's gonna serve multiple purposes. I know that as our kiddos go back to school, sometimes we have to access those immunization records. This will show that, but you also can access your vaccine record. So carrying around that tiny card, I do recommend that you take a picture of it, store it somewhere. I mean, it's probably not as valuable as your Social Security card, but again, it's valuable information. But again, requiring people to carry that small card around and not lose it, I think this is the way to go. And so the Minnesota Department of Health, it's called the Free Docket mobile app. It lets you access your immunization records, review what vaccines you have received, and see what vaccines you need to get. So again, I think this is a multi-purpose app, which is great. It's not just for COVID, but I think to your point, Commissioner Reinhardt, this is just another way for community to have access to their records. And again, if you don't have a smartphone, you can still request those records from the Minnesota Department of Health or your healthcare provider.
So is it just DOCKET? Is that, you're saying what the name of the app is, but I'm not sure.
Yep, it's called
if I'm
docket.
hearing it correctly.
Madam Chair, it's called docket. I can send the information out to the board today, and I think we also have it on our website. So, but yeah, it's called docket. That's the name of it. And if I could show you
how to spell it.
Oh, DOCKET. Docket.
Okay.
Sorry with my mask, I know.
No, that's okay. That's what I thought you were saying, but I thought also, not just for us, but for the people that are listening to this, that's going to be something that's important.
For sure.
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I thought it was DOCIT, like doc it, document it. So I did not know it was DOCKET. So thank you for asking that question, Commissioner Reinhardt, and for clarifying that, Director Holly. And I think, we should, I think it's a great thing to be doing. So I appreciate that. And I see that Commissioner Ortega has his hands raised in the chamber. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to ask Sarah to repeat the app for the public too, so.
I'll send the visual. I'm a visual person, Madam Chair and Commissioner, so I will send the visual if I could hold this up. I don't know if the camera can see it, but yeah, it's docket. So I guess it's an app that you can just go into and get all your information. But again, questions should go to the Minnesota Department of Health. And I'm pretty sure on their COVID-19 website, they probably have more information along with all the other information that's shared on a weekly basis. So, but I'll send this out for everyone. No problem.
Thank you so much. I actually have a question, and I'm not sure, maybe it might be for Dr. Ogawa, but Director Holly, you can stay here, but
Madam Chair, you went on mute.
the fall will be creating lots of events outdoors now, and I think people are getting a little lax in that, okay, well, I'm safe outdoors, but if you're too close still to people, you maybe should still wear a mask outdoors. Could you remind all of us as we're doing large outdoor events now?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, County Manager. As the State Fair has wrapped up a couple weeks ago, we were encouraging people that were in crowded or outdoor spaces to mask up. That was the recommendation. And so we want to continue to encourage that. If you are, in close proximity at a barbecue, at a concert, whatever it is, have your mask on, even outdoors in those crowded, congregate public spaces. The mitigation efforts, I'll just reiterate them, are universal masking when you're in any public space. Getting your vaccine, making sure that you're getting that first and second dose, following up on the second dose, that 2 series, or if it's Johnson & Johnson, getting that 1 dose. And then, of course, testing, regular testing. If you're traveling, if you have children in school, if you're a caregiver, please just make sure that you're getting regular testing. If you feel sick, stay home. I think that's another thing that we want to continue. So a lot of this, wash your hands, right? So a lot of the mitigation strategies that we've used over time for public health, we want to continue to encourage.
I really appreciate that. And I'll just ask another question then, because someone mentioned this to me this week. That the masks, are also different, and it doesn't really matter if you wear, a mask because there's all this airspace around it. So if you don't wear like a 3M surgical mask, it doesn't matter. But I think that's not true. I mean, a good mask is the best, but any mask is better than no mask. So could you just comment on that? I mean, I think we should all wear as strong a mask as we can, but if you could comment on that.
Yes, so, and Dr. Ogawa can come up and comment too. Madam Chair, Commissioners, universal masking, of course, we're encouraging that. In a lot of places, it's being mandated. Any face covering is helpful, right? So if the Mask for Everyone initiative, we've given out cloth masks for over 18 months. And so we still want to encourage those cloth masks. If you have access to an N95 mask, great, but if you don't, continue to wear a cloth mask, any face covering that you have when you're in public spaces or in close proximity to people or in crowded spaces. But Dr. Ogawa can speak more to that too.
Commissioner McGuire, I think that's actually a really important question, and I know that a lot of people are wondering about this. What helps is when there is a collective wearing of masks. So there actually was a recent study done and some modeling that showed that if individuals were in a group and only a single person wore a mask, then they were protected. So if they wore an N95, they were well protected. But if everyone in the group wore a mask, and it didn't matter at that point what kind of a mask it was. It could be cloth, although there's a few distinctions, but a cloth mask or a surgical mask, the collective protection of everyone was actually greater than the individual's protection when only they wore an N95. So as a public health official especially, and as a public health department, our recommendation is for that universal masking because it protects everyone better. Hopefully that's
I appreciate that. And then maybe Dr. Ogawa, you can just remind us all the masks, because I think sometimes people just throw one of those little gator things over their mouth, and I think that's not effective. That I heard if you can blow a candle through the mask, it's not effective. But do you have any other just tips on which the best masks are? I think the cloth ones, I think the disposable ones that you're wearing, I think those are all suitable, right?
Yes, Commissioner McGuire, one of the things that I think is also really important is the best mask is the one that's going to be worn properly, and that's over the mouth and the nose consistently and comfortably. The one concern about the ones with the valve is that actually, while they are more comfortable in breathing, they also actually release essentially a concentrated breath out, which is the whole idea. Part of the idea is what we're doing with the mask. So that's the only one that I would say you really want to be careful with, and is not ideal for groups of individuals. But really, it's about the comfort and overall protection.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Okay, does that complete the public health report then? Is there anyone else, Director Holly or County Manager O'Connor, that wanted to speak?
I just want to thank the three leaders from Public Health today for presenting the comprehensive update after not getting an update last week. All I have, Madam Chair, to end on is that the organization last week on Tuesday in the From the County Manager column received official notice that November 1st is the date that the county's vaccine and testing requirement will be going live per the county board policy. It was required that we provide 30-day notice to the organization. That occurred then last week, and there will be continued updates there. I owe the county board that update as well in writing, so I will send you the article as a follow-up to today's board meeting. We continue to work with an implementation team on all details, and that'll be something we continue to bring back here and talk about based on all the information you heard today about public health. And we have continued to move forward on aligning our flexible work policy and moving into phase one of that return to the office approach, of the three-phased approach. That still remains aligned with November 1st. However, as long as the CDC spread remains at a substantial or high level, it would immediately go on to pause until that level came down. And so it's important to acknowledge we're beginning to give people certainty. If you're in phase one, you know who you are, and we're going to move forward, but you're also right now, based on our public health status, not being asked to change until that occurs, and we're working through how notification works and everything else. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, County Manager O'Connor. We appreciate all of the presentations made today. Thanks to everyone, and thanks to everyone for all of their work in this continued effort. I'm seeing no other questions, then we will move on to the next part of our agenda, which is our administrative items. And we have Commissioner Fretham, who is going to do our administrative agenda today. Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you, Chair McGuire. I'd like to move item 4, 2022 regular retiree medical insurance renewal. Item 5, extension of select contracts for aging and disability case management services. Item 6, single source agreement with Eco Concilium for technical assistance for the school waste reduction and recycling program. Item 7, grant award from Minnesota Department of Human Services to provide opiate treatment and care coordination for African American and American Indian residents. Item 8, school waste reduction and recycling grant program for 2022 to 2023. Item 9, 2022 to 2023 recycling and energy board joint activities budget. Item 10, certification of property assessed clean energy charges for energy improvements. Item 11, pipeline right of entry agreement with the Metropolitan Council in Long Lake Regional Park. Item 12, contract with TA Shifsky and Sons, Inc. for Parks and Recreation Bituminous Project. Item 13, sale of surplus property, Rice Street I-694 interchange project.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on any of these administrative items? Just want to note there's a number of, environmental work that's being done with these and just a lot of really good work by our staff. So Commissioner Fretham, did you want to,
I just wanted to point out, I don't want to pull it, but for the surplus property at Rice Street and I-694, that is a piece of property that is being sold to the city of Venice Heights. I had outreach from the city manager and the mayor last week. They're very excited to have this property. They have a big plan for improvement along that corner there of Venice Heights, including improvement for additional housing and development in line with our economic inclusion plan. So very excited for that sale.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. And yes, a lot of really good work. Really good work being done here with these agenda items. So if there's no other discussion, will the clerk please take the roll?
Matas Castillo.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Thank you. Carter. McGuire.
Aye.
And Fretham.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, and all of the staff and people that are on the call on those administrative items. We're now moving on to our policy items, and I note that item 14, our emergency communications and budget presentation, is a continuation of our last budget item that we had, and I'd like to see if Commissioner Reinhardt just wants to make a comment about this, but this is the last of our budget hearing items that we were not able to complete last week. And so we're just going to hear from the emergency communications and budget personnel. So did you want to, unless you want to
Yes.
lay any groundwork?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, we had actually, as part of my overview of what we did last week coming up, it was a number. We went through our budget over the last, actually a little over a week, and every day was pretty full and a lot of great information, questions, deliberation, and including a public hearing. But we did run out of time, and so before we adopt the maximum levy later in our agenda today, we wanted to make sure that we brought in the emergency communications staff. The deputy county manager, I believe, is here as well, to have their presentation as part of the budget process.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Reinhardt, for that context of this item. I do want to say that Nancy Pass, who is our Director of Emergency Communications, is unfortunately unable to be here for this budget presentation. She waited for the entire time last week, and we were just not able to get to her, and was going to try and get here, but has had technical limitations as well. So she's delegated the presentation to Dan Palmer and Joe Dillenberg, and they're going to be joining us remotely to present this budget. Also, Scott Williams, our Deputy County Manager for Safety and Justice, is also here. And so I'm going to call on Deputy County Manager Scott Williams to just introduce this. So Deputy County Manager
Chair,
Williams, oh yes?
Madam Chair, as I've done in other public deliberations, I should point out that in our budget book, it's on pages 262 to 273 if there are questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt, for pointing that out. So I don't see Deputy County Manager Williams on my
he's here,
screen,
Madam Chair. He is here. He's ready to go.
Okay. Oh, yes, right. He's in the chambers. Thank you. Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and we appreciate the opportunity today at our board meeting today to complete our Safety and Justice budget hearing that we were almost able to get it done last Tuesday, but we ran out of time, and as you know, we had a hard stop at 4:30 for the public hearing. So we appreciate the opportunity to finish up today prior to the setting of the levy. And as you mentioned, Nancy Pass was not able to be here today. She's out of town at a conference, and logistically and technologically, it just didn't work for her to be able to present today. But we have a backup plan, and we have Dan Palmer, who is our technology manager for the Emergency Communication Center, and also helping him out today with the presentation is Joe Dillenberg, our administrative manager. I believe Dan is going to take the lead off, and so I will, Madam Chair, with your permission, I'll hand it off to Dan.
Thank you so much. Yes. Welcome, Manager Palmer.
Thank you.
And Manager Dillenberg, yeah.
I know you saved the best to last. I hope I can live up to at least a portion of that. So, my name is Dan Palmer. As Deputy County Manager Scott mentioned, I am one of the managers with the Emergency Communication Center. And also, as said, Director Pass was present for last week's hearing, but unfortunately wasn't unable to attend today's meeting. She has requested that myself and Joe Dillenberg attend in her absence, and she wished to thank our prior controller, Serge Kovacek, and controller Holly Pratt, along with our Emergency Communication Center team, Kirsten Maurer, Joe Dillenberg, John Rosh, and myself, for all the time and effort spent working on this budget. She also wanted to recognize Deputy County Manager Scott Williams for his continued support and guidance in both professional development and surrounding this budget process. So I'll start with a quick funding overview for those that may be watching and not familiar with the Emergency Communication Center, or ECC in short. We operate a hybrid funding model, which breaks down to 60% operating budget that is funded by county levy and 40% funded by all the cities within Ramsey County, which is collectively covered by a joint powers agreement. So the city's share of the 40% is determined using a rolling 3-year average of their share of 911 calls that require a response by police, fire, or EMS. We maintain our own fund balance, which is used over the long term to fund improvements of operational projects and other needs. DCM Williams and Controller Pratt mentioned last week the movement of costs from emergency communications over to the Office of Safety and Justice, as well as a 2.5 vacancy rating. Although it makes it for a tough budget year, it is manageable, though not without impact. We are restoring our contribution back to our computer-aided dispatch equipment replacement fund in 2022 and 2023. This is an important contribution to ensure that the CAD equipment replacement fund remains healthy. We experienced a higher level of turnover in 2020, reflected on page 264 of the budget book. We started the third quarter of 2020 with a turnover rate of 15.8%, yet we ended the year with a turnover rate of 24.3%. We have vacancies that impacts our staff morale by creating the need for more overtime. Along with overtime, our employees have experienced an uptick in the number of in-progress and dangerous calls for service, all which take an emotional toll on staff. The verbal abuse and disrespectful treatment by callers on the phone that our employees endure increased in 2020 during the civil unrest and continues to occur today. They also have seen an increase in people in crisis, as well as repeat callers, where the same caller calls dozens and sometimes close to 100 times within a single day. Our workforce experienced multiple changes to their work environment and protocols due to the pandemic and had to maintain a presence in our building 24/7, 365. We had single parents that resigned due to daycare issues or the need to be a teacher at home or other life changing issues due to COVID. Despite these higher turnover rates and all other stress factors, our telecommunicators and dispatchers continue to perform, and call answer times continue to meet and exceed the national standards. This speaks volumes to the dedication of our staff. Director Pass, myself, and our entire management team are very proud to work with them. When staffing levels dip, employees must work mandatory overtime to cover vacancies to assure that we can provide adequate services to the community and our partnering agencies. History has shown as the overtime requirement increases, it drives people to seek employment elsewhere. Employees are uncomfortable in positions of knowing if they'll be able to leave at the end of their scheduled shift. It creates stress in their personal life. Employees work 12-hour shifts and mandatory extensions as needed, which means working up to 16 hours or coming in on a regular scheduled day off. The complexity of those calls have increased, and they often take more time. So despite call volumes being slightly lower in 2020, staff has experienced the same or higher level of stress. A few of those examples include determining location of cell phone callers when they're not familiar with their location, animosity shown towards our telecommunicators, making it more difficult for them to receive answers to their questions. And they ask additional questions on domestic abuse calls and in-progress crimes while remaining on the phone until someone arrives. They also screen calls to determine if a mental health crisis referral would be the best solution for the caller. We are experiencing new hiring complexities. We are receiving approximately 1/3 of the number of applicants that we had received in past years. We've experienced people not showing up for their interviews or even their first day of employment. People struggle with our thorough but challenging training program to complete and learn the skills necessary to do a difficult, stressful job. This is an essential job with critical staffing levels that need to be maintained. Where and how we did community outreach has changed or been limited. We are not alone. The same challenges are being experienced within our profession across the state of Minnesota. We are improving redundancy and risk planning of our phone system this year with needed upgrades that will create a geodiverse, redundant phone system, which will allow a smoother transition to our backup facility and improve connectivity to network infrastructure. This will reduce any potential downtime of critical services. It allows for expansion of live call taking from both our main 911 and our backup center. So during an extraordinary event, we could staff at both locations simultaneously. To my knowledge, we are the only PSAP in the state of Minnesota that has this capability. This upgrade improves our COOP planning to reduce impacts and continue delivery of services, which has been a priority over the years. We have fully functional backup facility allowing CAD, phone, and radio usage. Our 2022 and 2023 projects are currently in the planning stages, but at a glance, our largest is our floor refresh project. This project is currently in process through the capital improvement program. We've been operating with the same consoles and floor layout today as when we opened 15 years ago, despite evolving and changing needs and providing services. Our aging equipment consoles are starting to fail as they are in use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year. In the past, our engagement with the community has been through recruitment and educational efforts. Recently, we've been finding ourselves engaged with the community in a more meaningful way. We at the ECC recognize that we play a vital leadership role in developing more appropriate responses to 911 calls, expanding beyond what our traditional public safety systems offer. Director Pass had the opportunity to be a government advisor for St. Paul's Community First Public Safety Commission. Since that time, we've been actively engaged in conversations and planning tables across cities, counties, and the state to advance the discussion and readiness for this transformative work. Although there is not a complete picture of what our future holds, we're excited for the opportunity. Director Pass has shared with our management team something she was told to her by Dr. Rosh, a leader in our community and partner in planning. He said, "We are moving at the pace of trust, not rushed." Nancy reminds us of this when we try and move at a faster pace. As the Emergency Communication Center continues to evolve, we do so knowing that using a residents first approach with system partners and community co-designing together, we will have an impact with better outcomes for all, especially for our Black and African Indian community members. As DCM Williams stated last week, there will be more on this topic coming forward in the near future. We stand for any questions and look forward to working with the board in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. Yeah, Commissioner Reinhardt.
I would open it up for questions or comments from county board members, and would ask if there are any questions or comments in the chambers. Not hearing any.
No questions or comments here, Madam Chair.
Okay, any questions or comments? It looks like we're doing well. And I do want to point out, I'm not sure if you actually stated, Mr. Palmer, the national standard or exceeding that, and that is the percent of 911 calls answered within 15 seconds. And we have been at 98% and 97%, I guess, in 2020, but that is pretty amazing considering all of the stresses that are on our ECC operators and dispatchers. As you pointed out, and I think people sometimes just take it for granted, that when they dial 911, they're going to get somebody and they're going to get help. And it's most crisis and panic time for people when they dial 911, in most cases anyhow, and that it does take a special skill. So I understand that the training is difficult, but it's essential to be able to provide those services. And I do think also the other part of this that I think is a positive for our residents and community members is the fact that we are embedding social workers within the police departments, which again helps. And some people may not see the direct connect there, but it is absolutely something that is important, especially for those that call frequently. And so trying to get the help that they need rather than just having repeat, so that they can actually get the help that they need. So we're moving in a lot of different directions. As you pointed out, we don't know what the future holds as far as technology, especially, but I do know that your team, your executive team, Deputy County Manager Williams, that you are on top of that. So Madam Chair, I don't see any additional questions or comments. And so I would say thank you. And I believe that we can move on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Reinhardt. I just want to add my thanks and gratitude to all of the people that work in emergency communications. It's a stressful job, and you've outlined many of those stresses, and we just stand by to support you as much as we can, and appreciate all the work that you're doing. So thank you for that. And thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt, for all of your work. So with that, this is for information and discussion only, so we will not be taking a vote on this, but we are going to be voting on the budget in another item here. So we'll do that in item 16. But we're going to start with next with item 15, which is another policy item. This is funding for Ramsey County's Racial Equity and Community Engagement Response Team to advance racial and health equity through the American Rescue Plan Act. And we did hear about this. We had was in a board meeting that we heard about our efforts in this area, and that was a couple weeks ago. And so now we want to vote on this. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. It's been
Second.
moved and seconded. Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt and Commissioner Ortega. And is there any discussion, or is there anything that County Manager would like to say, or anything that anyone would like to comment on before we vote on it?
Madam Chair, I would just say special thanks to Administrator Corbett. Director Holly, as she transitioned roles, has played a large role here as well. Chief Clerk and Administrative Director Mi Cheng, sitting next to me, has also played significant roles. There's been a number of people who have been a part of this work, and we thank the board for being in the continual dialogue around racial equity and community engagement, including the public health discussion with Dr. Ogawa this week. This just continues to move us forward along that path.
Thank you so much, County Manager, and yes, thank you for your efforts and all of the people you mentioned in making this and moving this forward, as you said. So, and I see a hand by Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When the public is watching our county board meetings and, has access to our workshops and all of the work that has happened, this is one thing that has, obviously the amount of information that we have received on multiple occasions and trying to make sure that we are staying on top of this really incredible work. I felt the need to make at least a statement on how critical this is to our core mission in moving things forward, because as we know, we talk about access and trust within our service system, and this work to support racial equity and community engagement is core to that. And so all the staff, everybody, County Manager O'Connor, that has worked to bring this to this point and beyond, because this isn't, we put these ARPA funds into it and we're good. But it shows the commitment and the support that we have at the county board level. And it's just really something that is, I don't know how else to put it. It's a big deal because we have to be diligent in working on this. So I wanted people to understand that this is truly an important moment in time as we continue to do this very hard work, and our staff is so dedicated. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt, and you've said it so well. This is core to our mission, and we need to be deliberate about it, and I'm glad you were deliberate about making these points, because this is work that is crucial to our moving forward in the way that we want to move forward. And I would just like to say also that Commissioner Carter is of course, absolutely in support of this and wishes she could be here to vote on the entire board agenda today, but this one especially, and of course the next one also. But she wanted me to express her support for this item especially. So thank you for that. Seeing no other hands raised, I'm going to ask the clerk to take the roll.
You're on mute.
I don't think she heard you.
Fretham?
Oh.
Aye.
Thank you. Matascasio?
Aye.
McDonough?
Aye.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Carter? And McGuire?
Aye. Thank you so much, everyone, and thanks to all of the Director Corbett and everyone, Director Holly, who had such a significant role in this. Okay, item number 15 has passed. We're now moving on to item number 16, which is certification of the maximum levy for the proposed 2022 property tax notices. And I'm going to recognize Commissioner Reinhardt to say a few things, but also, first of all, to thank you so much, Commissioner Reinhardt, for being the finance chair for our board. You and Commissioner Mattis Castillo, who's our vice chair, have just done so much work throughout the year with all of our staff, going through the budget, really making it understandable for all of us and helping us with these hearings that we've just been through these last few weeks, and just to make sure that it's a budget that does the most important work that we can do while also honoring our property taxpayers. So thank you so much, Commissioner Reinhardt and Commissioner Mattis Castillo, for all of your work. And with that, I'll recognize you if you would like to make any comments on this last item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, I am very pleased as Chair of the Budget Committee in conjunction with, and I assume that Commissioner Mattis Castillo will second this, the certification of the maximum levy. As you stated, we've had hours that we have dedicated to going through the budget and the levy as part of how we fund our budget, and have had a number of really good presentations, good questions, knowing coming into this that this was going to be a challenge because of going with the zero levy increase last year, and kind of the unknowns of what was going on into 2022 and 2023. The dedicated staff and leadership team, to everyone that made presentations or answered questions as we went along, is very much appreciated. And so with that, we know that we've had, we continue to be in lean times here, but we are trying to access all funds, whether they be ARPA or the American Rescue Plan funds, or previously, of course, we wrapped up the CARES funding as well. But there are a number of opportunities that we have tried to get out to our local community for businesses, and continue to do that. So our levy is, I am very proud to be able to bring that forward. It has been a thoughtful process, and now we still move into the budget deliberation, which is a different issue than setting the maximum levy. For those that are listening, the reason we set the maximum levy, it is required by law for us to do that. Ramsey County Board of Commissioners has made a purposeful decision that we will have our budget meetings and go through it, so that when we set the maximum, it is truly already been worked through as far as making sure that it is what we need and nothing more than that. It is not the common way to do it. Most governments in Minnesota will set a maximum levy and then go to work on trying to bring it down. But we decided that truth in taxation meant that you actually did that prior to putting the number out there. So I thank the board, I thank the executive team for all of the work on getting to this point, and setting this maximum levy is a critical part of what we are still doing when it comes to the budget and setting that for the budget for 2022, 2023. And this, of course, is just for the levy for 2022. So again, thank you. And we have lots of questions that are going to be coming back through our budget process, and looking forward to that.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. I don't believe anyone's moved this. Would you like to move that?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Reinhardt and seconded by Commissioner Mattis Castillo. Yeah. Thank you both for all of your work, as I've said. Is there any other discussion? Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Mattis Castillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also want to take a moment to thank everyone who's been involved in this budget process of drafting and putting together this budget, and to Chair Reinhardt herself, who led this process throughout this year and the years previous. Her hard work and dedication should be recognized. I also want to acknowledge that this has been a really difficult year, and I know this has been a painful budget, as we heard from all of our departments. But I also want us to take time to really celebrate and be proud of the work that we're doing to equitably and genuinely serve the residents of Ramsey County during a really unprecedented time. As we adapt to whatever surprises 2022 may bring, and hopefully they are not as big as 2020's, I'm committed to working in partnership with each and every one of you to ensure that our services remain models, not just for our counties across the state and region, but nationwide. We're doing really great, innovative work here in Ramsey County, and it matters too much for people that we serve for any of it to fail or to fall by the wayside. I also want to acknowledge that we're setting the maximum levy today, and that it is a significant impact to some people in our community. And that's really important for us to always consider and weigh as we're talking about proposed increased levies, and that we really have, as Commissioner Reinhardt pointed out, been thoughtful about this. When we set the levy at 0% last year to really take care of our community, we knew this was going to be a really hard budget, and it continues to be a really hard budget. And we also know that we need to continue to explore other means of financing programs and initiatives in partnership with our state legislature to spread the burden more equitably across the state. We're reaching our limits on what we can do with Ramsey County resources alone, but our residents need this, and so it's really important. I don't want us to lose sight of that in the months and years ahead. And so with that, as I seconded the motion for this maximum levy, I'm really proud of the work that has happened here and want to say thank you again to all the staff, County Manager O'Connor and Commissioner Reinhardt, our CFO, and the entire team as we move forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Matas-Castillo. Well said. And I would love to leave it at that, except for I want to just highlight some of the things you've said, which is so important, that we did hear the staff. We know that this has been a really tough year for everyone, and we did hear you, and we are going to continue to work with you on your budgets and helping you to do the work that we know is so important, and also keeping in mind our property taxpayers, because we know that this will be a burden to some. And I stand by with all of you to work on our state and federal partners, to have them help us in more increased ways, to, as Commissioner Matas-Castillo said, share that burden that we have, and really it's really up to our state and federal partners to share a lot more of that, and really to do the work that we're already doing in our economic development to increase our tax base. And so we are, embarking on and continuing to work on all of these efforts. And I know that this board is very committed in all those areas. So with that, just thanks again to Commissioner Reinhardt, Commissioner Matas-Castillo, County Manager O'Connor, and all of the staff that has worked so hard on all of this. So thank you all. Are there any other comments, or is there any other discussion? I don't see anyone in the board and on the call. And so with that, we will take the roll. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Freda.
Aye.
Matas-Castillo.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter. And McGuire.
Aye. And thank you all. And I just want to reiterate that Commissioner Carter wishes she could have been here to support this budget item, and would have supported this. So thank you for that. All right. Thanks everyone for all that good work. We are now moving on to County Connections with County Manager O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and on behalf of all the staff across the organization who have played a part in building the budget and going through budget hearings, as well as all the staff who represent the work that is included in the budget, we deeply appreciate the comments and support from the county board through this always challenging but extremely important process that we undertake every 2 years. As I turn to County Connections, 3 quick updates. I'm pleased to announce that the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce announced Ramsey County as a finalist in 2 categories within their Leaders in Local Government Awards. I'll also note that we didn't nominate ourselves for either of these, which was kind of neat to find out because we first found out and I looked around and asked everybody who nominated us and we still don't actually know. So if you did it, thank you. And if you're watching and did it, thank you for that too. The 2 categories are Ramsey County COVID Business Communications within the communications category, and then City of St. Paul and Ramsey County Encampment Response within the innovation category. The awards ceremony, I'm going off the cuff here, but I believe it's the 23rd, so I think it's this week, and so hopefully I can come back next week with more info, and if I got the dates wrong, I'll come back with more info when that is in fact available. Congratulations to the work that it represents and all the leaders who have made that nomination possible. I had an opportunity to present at the Association of Minnesota Counties Conference last week on the county board's funding investments on the American Rescue Plan Act funding related to affordable housing and ensuring affordability along the housing continuum in every corner of our community. I was a part of a panel of counties across the state, and many of you were there and able to observe the presentation, but it was a wonderful opportunity to highlight the work that the board has established and the $37 million that they've carved out of the ARPA funding plan specific to affordable housing. And I think that the approach for the conversation we were able to have with the statewide association helped to continue to further the case that affordable housing is not a Ramsey County problem. It's not a specific city problem. It's a state of Minnesota problem. And it's a problem that, while enormous, is also solvable through intentional and focused commitment from policymakers. So thanks to all of you for your support, and most importantly for the $37 million, which is part of the larger 50 to 70, or Commissioner McDonough and I were talking yesterday, 70 to $80 million over the last few years alone in this space to shore up both emergency shelter and affordable housing and truly work to change the status quo. Finally, this week is going to, for the From the County Manager column, we'll start a series that is focused on the budget. So we'll end where we started here today. The deputy county managers and the comments they gave framing each area of the budget did an outstanding job, as you all know, about talking about the strategic direction, the challenging choices, and the work that we are doing both as individuals, collective, service teams, and departments within that. And so with communications, we've been working to transform those words into columns that are going to run in consecutive weeks to share with the entire organization more of what you all got to hear through the budget process. So it's a neat opportunity to try to make sure that we're using that content, amplifying it in ways across the organization, and giving every employee a chance through the weekly Ramsey News to read a little bit more about the thought process that resulted in the proposed budget that you saw. And I thank the deputy county managers and other members of the executive team for being a part of that exercise. That's all I have, Madam Chair. That concludes this week's Good News Update.
I always look forward to the good news update and hear about at least highlights of all the great work that we're doing at Ramsey County. We know there's a lot of great work being done, and it's just nice to have some of that highlighted each week. So thank you, County Manager O'Connor. And with that, we're moving on to outside board and committee reports, and I'm going to take them in alphabetical order. And if Commissioner Fretham is ready, I know sometimes we let the person doing the administrative agenda go last, but if you're ready, why don't you go first, and then we'll continue with Commissioner Mattis, Castillo, McDonough, Ortega, Reinhardt, and then I'll end. So, Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you, Chair McGuire. I don't have any updates today.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Commissioner. It's been a budget week. We've been all really busy in budget hearings, so it would be there was a lot going on in that regard. Commissioner Mattis Castillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be quick because we have a full agenda, but just wanted to share, today we passed as part of our general budget, we talked about the joint activities budget from the R&E Center. And I know we all know what that means, but wanted to just call it out for community. This is how we're moving to organics recycling that will be picked up curbside. It's part of that budget, the continued outreach, the reduction of waste. And so a really important work there. And as that, I got to participate on Saturday at another citywide cleanup and recycling event at the state fairgrounds. And so it's always great to see people coming and recycling and doing their part. And as my job was actually initiating a survey as everyone who was coming in to drop stuff off, and we asked about, you know, where they're coming from, what kind of household they live in, as well as, you know, if they think that it's reasonable and what prices and what area we're heading in. And overall, the community is very supportive of our work in the area of recycling and take it as a serious part of their duty as well. And so that was really good. I just wanted to share that our community is telling us that they want us to keep moving forward in this area as we are doing. And so that's good news. I also just want to share that this coming Saturday is the Marydale Festival in the North End. It's a local artist art festival at Marydale Park, right at Dale and Maryland. There'll be events for kids and families. There'll be local artists showing and selling their artwork. There'll be active art and placemaking activities and lots of food available from noon to 5. And so we want to invite the community to the Marydale Festival in the North End.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Mattis Castillo. Okay, Commissioner McDonough.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Two quick updates. We had an AMC board meeting last week. I was able to attend. We had a 2-hour presentation on the opioid lawsuit and national settlement. And the clock is ticking now for states to sign on to that. And it was a good presentation. AMC brought in the state executive director from North Carolina, which is already signed on and got their approvals. And the reason they brought in North Carolina is because they signed on with an agreement with their state AG for the best local investment, where they're getting 80% of the money coming into that state directly to counties. Minnesota here, there's conversations, and of course we are a litigant county. There's 30 of them, or over 30 of them in Minnesota, you know, where we have our own county attorney representing us through a contracted attorney. Right now, the state's proposal is 15% coming to locals, and the rest of the money going into a state fund that's split between child protection, and then some grant opportunities for locals. So we've got a lot of work here to do in Minnesota to get the locals to sign off. Ideally, you'll want all 87 counties, and there's 2 cities that have their own lawsuits going. The requirement of the national settlement for a state to be able to sign on, they need to get all their locals who are litigating this on their own, plus the counties or cities that are not, to sign off. At least a majority, super majority of those to sign off. And as I mentioned, the clock is ticking. January 1st is that timeline. AMC board voted to put together a task force to help represent us in those negotiations with the AG. And then on Saturday, we had the opportunity, if you've been coming in the Kellogg entrance, you've noticed some construction going out there. You might have wondered what that is. It's actually was a art installation, and it's absolutely amazing. If you get a chance, you know, walk over there. It's done. It's cleaned up. It's taken 7 years for us to put that together. But it recognizes the work that Judge Cohen, who was a county commissioner and chaired the Ramsey County Board, he was mayor of St. Paul, a judge in the second judicial branch, and chief judge. And the only individual that we can find that has had a leadership role in all 3 branches of government that work out of this building. And so the community had come to us 7 years ago and wanted to find a way to recognize that work. And in particular, the judge's work, the mayor's work, the county commissioner Cohen's work, as far as racial equity and disparities in the 70s, when it wasn't so popular to talk about it. He was heavily engaged in the Wounded Knee issues back then with the Native American community. He was extremely involved with the Hmong community and their early arrival into our community, and helping establish some of the first Hmong interpreters in the judicial, in the court system, helping work with the Hmong clan system to establish the one council of 18 for them to be able to unite their voices, and a tremendous amount of work in the African American communities and so many more. So Saturday we were able to have a celebration. It was extremely well attended. It was really community that owned this process. It is them that influence what you see out there and the representation of that. And it is intended to recognize Judge Cohen, but it's bigger than that. It really is intended to continue, remind us the legacy of inequities in our community, the harm that it's caused, and everybody who walks through these doors, for all of us to do better in helping improve the lives of everybody in our community. Commissioner Mattis Castile was able to attend. Chair Carter made some remarks representing the board. So I want to thank the board for their support, their patience on this. You've been very patient, and I appreciate the support of the city and the community on us being able to recognize Judge Larry Cohen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner McDonough, and I really appreciate your comments regarding Judge Cohen and all the great contributions he made to this community. And thank you for recognizing that work. So I appreciate that. All right, Commissioner Ortega, it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
If you have any comments, any updates?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, we're just happy to have you back at the board meeting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, as you pointed out, we had the budget hearings, and it was really a lot of dedicated work, and we've already covered that. I also attended the Environment and Natural Resources Committee meeting at AMC, and a lot of really tough issues when it comes to the environment right now. In today's agenda, we did cover a lot of environmental aspects of what we do as Ramsey County, and AMC is struggling with some of the same issues, or the counties are struggling with some of those same issues. And what the purpose of the policy conference really is to form our platform, our legislative platform for the next legislative session. And so that's what we are in the process of doing. One of the things that I would really, we covered a number of issues. And so there was a lot of information from payment in lieu of taxes to environmental concerns regarding PFAS, PFOS, and PFOAs. I don't know what all of the full name is, but it's quite a list. And I know I talked a little bit about this, I think at our, well, maybe not at the last meeting now that I think about it, because we had the budget hearings. But this was also something that we're really working on diligently, not only with AMC, but with the National Association of Counties. And I chair the AIR subcommittee of the Environment, Energy, and Land Use Committee for NACO. And we had our committee meeting that really dug deep into this particular issue. And I'm just going to go with PFAS because it's just a different, the others are just different variations of that. It was a chemical that was introduced in the 1940s, highly used, and very toxic. And it's one of those forever chemicals. And so there have been a lot of things that have changed since then, finally. But the fact of the matter is that it's in everything from makeup to cookware to fire suppressants. And we've had to really do some diligent work to try to get it out of those products. But the fact is that 98% of humans have it in their blood. And so it is something that we have to deal with, not only currently, but well into the future. So, and there are other issues, again, that are coming before the Environment and Natural Resources Committee, including an issue that I've talked about here before, and that is a proposal to have a mapping system for underground utilities that protects the data privacy that is needed, but improves safety and improves the environment, because you need to know where those lines are, because if you disrupt them, you can have some disastrous responses. And we are really lucky in the state of Minnesota to have Gopher One State. But if they don't have the data, it is still much more difficult. So we have a proposal that's based off of other states on how to make sure that that information, again, is kept secure, but allows for Gopher State One to get the data to the people that are out there digging the holes and trying not to hit underground utilities. And finally, I guess I would just like to say on a personal level, Judge Cohen, he was such a dedicated individual and really kept his eye on what needed to happen in areas of racial equity, and everything he touched, he gave 110%. But I think, and the reason I'm smiling is because his sense of humor was absolutely incredible. Sometimes you kind of wondered, but he did everything with dedication and humor. And to me, I really miss him, and I'm glad that we were able to honor him in this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Reinhardt. And so now I'll give my update. I'll continue on with the AMC Public Policy Conference, and just grateful to my colleagues who are able to attend that. It's really important that we're a part of those committee meetings, because this is where the policies are decided, and we need our voice there on these statewide committees. It's really good to have our voices there. I will say that I serve on public safety, and you can imagine the conversations that go on in public safety with civil unrest, and how we need all voices in the room. But I will tell you, I'm very proud of the committee, and that one of the biggest, the longest time we spent was speaking about mental health issues, mental illness in our criminal justice system, and how we really need to have alternatives for people with mental health issues other than our jails. And this is something that our committee, our public safety committee statewide, is going to make a priority, I believe, in December when we vote on priorities. So I'm proud of the committee for that. We do have our differences in other areas, but it was a great discussion, and we are recognizing, of course, this really important work around mental health. The policy conference was a good one. I just thank our county manager O'Connor for appearing on the panel presentation. He was the last panelist, and he pulled it all together on how counties are spending their CARES and ARPA dollars, and everyone was just very impressed, of course, and grateful for his presentation. So thank you, County Manager O'Connor, for that. Just say that Commissioner McDonough mentioned the opioid presentation in our board meeting. It brought over to the general population in AMC, and that is really important work, which people will hear more about, and I appreciate Commissioner McDonough making his remarks on that. And then also we had Bill Doherty. He's a Roseville resident, Ramsey County resident, who really leads the national effort on Braver Angels, which is really bringing people together. And it was just great to hear Bill talk again on how we can have and people and how we need our legislative colleagues and our he continues to really highlight that. So, and with that, I'll just say, as a people meeting is this afternoon, and we can probably all attend that. So, and there's a few coming up. I want to say our legislative team, because we're all on the legislative committee, but the team of Commissioner Mattis Castillo, myself, Jenna Rourke, and Melissa Finnegan, and Elizabeth, we to meet the issues that we need to continue to work on, and I'm really, and of course, in all of our work is really how are we going to make the riverfront development Paul legislators and that, you know, further up. So we're working on, we are hoping to have a delegation meeting, legislators, probably them an update on where our CARES dollars went and how our dollars are going to go, and just and also to talk. We're hoping, and so we'll keep you posted. Like it's important earlier than which will be in which starts in February this year. So know that I'm having a conference a few days this week, and they are requiring and they're sent out a notice that will be in indoor meetings is required to wear a mask, and I'm proud of that. So if anyone wants music fest, food, beverage, and music fest, John Oval in Roseville. So with that, that's my report, and just thanks everyone for all your work on behalf of communities. So with that, just as a vice chair, I'll just say that the board here, as I've been saying, and with that, I see, is there no other discussion? I will meeting note that we have a and then a regional rail authority, and then I know at noon there's a joint county courts meeting for those workshops today or this afternoon or this morning. So that I will. Donna, yeah.
Madam Chair, could we take a brief break before our next meeting?
Yeah.
Link or separate links for the HRA and regional?
Asking that question, Commissioner McDonough, and you're right. We should take a break, and I'm guessing we stay on for both of those meetings. I'm looking.
That is correct. Please stay on the same Zoom link.
Be chairing housing and redevelopment.
5 minutes is great.
10 minutes?
5.
Okay. Oh, 5? Okay. We'll come back at 11 o'clock. We'll start. Thank you.